I remember one time we were going through a crazy famine in Kenya. There was crazy hunger. There was no food at all. I looked around and I realized, oh, all my friends are dead. I've buried all of them. And one day, Compassion called and they say, hey, you have a letter from your sponsor. It was always exciting to receive a letter. That very day, I pick up that letter. I ran back home and I read it to my grandma that evening, not knowing what was on her mind. Words stood out. And very words were, God is never late. He's always coming. And reading those words and translating those words to my grandma, I didn't realize what they meant that very day and that very evening. What was on her mind, we were about to have our last plate of food, our last meal that we had, but not just a meal. She wanted to infuse it with rat poison so that all of us could go together. She wanted to do that because she could not imagine seeing us another day going without food and the pain of hunger, that you could look at children, know that they're gonna die out of hunger. She could not imagine. I read these words to her and whatever was in her mind kind of switched, and she didn't do that. We had our last meal. The following day, early morning, Compassion called and they said, actually yesterday when you picked that letter, we forgot that your sponsor also sent you something more. So please come and pick it. And I ran back and I find a food hamper for the next 3 months. And I took it back home and it was just so surreal. The first thing we thought about was, do our neighbors even have food? We called everybody around us. Whatever was meant to be used for the next 3 months, it was used for a few weeks because our neighbors also needed food. Not far long, Ron and Libby Hamilton, who are my sponsors, they came over to Kenya to meet me for the first time. And they also got to meet my grandma. And it was so surreal that I still remember the day they walked into a little house. And my grandmother saw them and looked at all these photos that we had pinned on the walls of the many years that they had sent. And it fully made sense to her that miracles do happen. That very Sunday, my grandmother asked me, please, that Jesus that you pray to, I'd also want to meet him. At the age of 84, I held my grandmother's hand. We walked into church and she said yes to Christ. And let me tell you how famous she was in that slum and that neighborhood. She led a whole generation of people into the church, that the church became smaller and we had to build a bigger church.